Hey everybody, we're going to do the April 21st or 25th, April 25th daily Bible reading, and it's day 115. So David sets up his administration, organizes worship in Jerusalem, and reaches out in covenant loyalty to Jonathan's son, Saul's grandson, Mephibosheth. David blesses Mephibosheth, restores his family's property to him, and gives him a servant named Ziba, who himself has 15 sons and 20 servants. David also extends kindness to Hunan of the Ammonites after Hanan's father dies, but Hanan listens to the slander of his officers and accuses David of spying. He humiliates David's servants and escalates the event into war by hiring the Aramean army to fight with him against David. It ends in disaster for Hanan and his allies. Truly, God's blessing to Abraham, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt, is on his descendant David. Kindness may be misunderstood, but God calls his people to show mercy anyway, even toward enemies. So we're going to start out in 2 Samuel chapter 8, verse 15. So David reigned over all Israel and did what was just and right for all his people. Joab, son of Zeruiah, was commander of the army. Jehoshaphat, son of Elihud, was the royal historian. Zadok, son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, son of Abiathar, were the priest. Sariah was the court secretary. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was captain of the king's bodyguard, and David's sons served as priestly leaders. This little light bulb up here with David of Judah means that there's more to this story. Understand the story. David of Judah. God loves to take broken people and do great things through them. Judah is a prime example. His life reads like a sordid play from the past. He is the fourth son of Leah, Jacob's unloved wife. He feels the sting of favoritism when Jacob honors Joseph, Rachel's firstborn son, over his brothers. Joseph's dreams and his beautiful coat only increase the bitterness. When Jacob sends Joseph to check on his brothers, they determine to kill him, but Judah suggests that they sell him to slave traders instead. The brothers then present Joseph's coat, torn and bloodstained, to their father, and their lie sends Jacob into mourning. Soon after, Judah leaves, moving away from the rest of his family. His life falls apart in this time of separation. His wife dies. He loses two sons in God's judgment, and he has sex with a woman he thinks is a prostitute, but is actually his daughter-in-law, Tamar, to whom he had broken a promise. The only good to come of this time is two children, including Perez, through whom the royal lineage comes. When a severe famine hits, Judah returns to his family and with 9 of his brothers travels to Egypt to buy grain. The brothers unknowingly bow before Joseph, and when Joseph recognizes them and tests them, their guilt, undoubtedly heightened by Jacob's ongoing grief, surfaces. Joseph commands them to bring Benjamin, Rachel's only other son, or Simeon, would stay in prison, and they would be unable to buy any more grain. When the brothers return home, Jacob agrees to send Benjamin, only when Judah promises to personally guarantee his safety. Joseph's final test forces Judah to keep that promise, and he delivers a moving speech in which he offers himself as a slave instead of the boy. Joseph then reveals himself to his brothers, and the family immigrates to Egypt. Jacob's dying blessing to Judah indicates the favor Judah has found from his father and from the Lord. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from his descendants, until the coming of the one to whom it belongs, the one whom all nations will honor. The genealogy of 1 Chronicles tells us that Judah became the most powerful among his brothers. How did Judah become so powerful? By laying down his life for his brother. Judah's descendants carried on the tradition of self-sacrifice. Caleb stood for the Lord when the 10 spies led the people to rebellion. He was willing to lay down his life for truth, and the Lord commended him for his wholehearted obedience. Boaz helped the Moabite widow Ruth when others would likely have scorned her, and he acted as family redeemer for Naomi by marrying Ruth, even though she was a foreigner. David, another descendant of Judah, exhibits self-sacrifice early in life. As a young shepherd boy, he protects the sheep from bears and lions by the power of the Lord. His anointing as king merely reveals to others what God had already seen in his heart. As the Lord said to Samuel, "The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." David's willingness to lay down his life for the Lord surfaces when he confronts Goliath and defends the honor of the Lord. "You come to me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of heaven's armies, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you defied. Today the Lord will conquer you, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel, and everyone assembled here will know that the Lord rescues his people, but not with sword and spear. This is the Lord's battle, and he will give you to us." When David refuses to kill Saul twice, he again honors the Lord at the risk of his own life. And when given the freedom and opportunity to do whatever he wishes, David desires more than anything else to honor the Lord by building him a temple. While God refuses his desire, he makes a remarkable covenant with David. "Your house and your kingdom will continue before me for all time, and your throne will be secure forever." God thus confirms to David the promise made to his ancestor Judah. What does this promise ultimately mean? From Judah's line would come the ruler. From David's line would come the king. As the story progresses, prophecies about this king affirm the Davidic line and point further to the coming reign. The prophet Micah announces that David's hometown Bethlehem would welcome the coming ruler. "But you, O Bethlehem Ephrathah, are only a small village among all the people of Judah, yet a ruler of Israel, whose origins are in the distant past, will come from you on my behalf." The prophet Isaiah speaks of David's descendant who would reign forever. "For unto us is born, for a child is born to us, a son is given to us, the government will rest on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His government and its peace will never end. He will rule with fairness and justice from the throne of his ancestor David for all eternity. The passionate commitment of the Lord of heaven's armies will make this happen." When the king finally makes his entrance, he is indeed born in Bethlehem, and his lineage can be traced through David and Judah. He fulfills the promises of the prophets, but he takes the lowly place instead of the crown, serving rather than demanding. Like his forefathers, he lays down his life for others. He offers himself, the innocent one, in place of the guilty, and like Judah, he prevails. So now we're going to go to 1 Chronicles chapter 18, verse 14. "So David reigned over all Israel and did what was just and right for all his people. Joab, son of Zeruiah, was commander of the army. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was the royal historian. Zadok, son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, son of Abiathar, were the priest. Sariah was the court secretary. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was captain of the king's bodyguard, and David's sons served as the king's chief assistants." 1 Chronicles chapter 6, verse 16. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The descendants of Gershon included Libni and Shimei. The descendants of Kohath included Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Uziel. The descendants of Merari included Mali and Mushi. The following were the Levite clans, listed according to their ancestral descent. The descendants of Gershon included Libni, Jahath, Zima, Joah, Edo, Zerah, and Jeatherai. The descendants of Kohath included Aminadab, Korah, Isir, Elkanah, Abiasaph, Asir, Tahath, Uriel, Uzziah, and Shaul. The descendants of Elkanah included Amasai, Ahimath, Elkanah, Zophai, Nahath, Eliab, Jeroham, Elkanah, and Samuel. The sons of Samuel were Joel, the older, and Abijah, the second. The descendants of Merari included Mali, Libni, Shimei, Uzzah, Shemiah, Haggai, and Asaiah. Now we're going to 1 Chronicles chapter 6, beginning in verse 50. The descendants of Aaron were Eleazar, Phinehas, Abishua, Buki, Uzi, Zerahiah, Meraioth, Amariah, Ahitub, Zadok, and Ahimaaz. 1 Chronicles chapter 6, verse 31. David assigned the following men to lead the music at the house of the Lord after the ark was placed there. They ministered with music at the tabernacle until Solomon built the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem. They carried out their work, following all the regulations handed down to them. These are the men who served along with their sons. Heman, the musician, from the clan of Kohath. His genealogy traced back through Joel, Samuel, Elkanah, Jeroham, Eliel, Toa, Zuph, Elkanah, Mahath, Amasiah, Elkanah, Joel, Azariah, Zephaniah, Tahath, Asir, Abiasaph, Korah, Izhar, Kohath, Levi, and Israel. Heman's first assistant was Asaph from the clan of Gershon. Asaph's genealogy was traced back through Berechiah, Shimea, Michael, Baaseiah, Malchijah, Ethni, Zerah, Adiah, Ethan, Zema, Shimei, Jahath, Gershon, and Levi. Heman's second assistant was Ethan from the clan of Merari. Ethan's genealogy was traced back through Kishi, Abdi, Malach, Hashabiah, Amaziah, Hilkiah, Amzi, Bani, Shemer, Mali, Mushi, Merari, and Levi. Their fellow Levites were appointed to various other tasks in the tabernacle, the house of God. 2 Samuel 9, 1 through 13. One day David asked, is anyone in Saul's family still alive? Anyone to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake? He summoned a man named Ziba, who had been one of Saul's servants. Are you Ziba? The king asked. Yes, sir, I am, Ziba replied. The king then asked him, is anyone still alive from Saul's family? If so, I want to show God's kindness to them. Ziba replied, yes, one of Jonathan's sons is still alive. He is crippled in both feet. Where is he? The king asked. In Lodebar, Ziba told him, at the home of Machir, son of Ammiel. So David sent for him and brought him from Machir's home. His name was Mephibosheth. He was Jonathan's son and Saul's grandson. When he came to David, he bowed low to the ground in deep respect. David said, greetings, Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth replied, I am your servant. Don't be afraid, David said. I intend to show kindness to you because of my promise to your father Jonathan. I will give you all the property that once belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will eat here with me at the king's table. Mephibosheth bowed respectfully and exclaimed, who is your servant that you should show such kindness to a dead dog like me? Then the king summoned Saul's servant Ziba and said, I have given your master's grandson everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You and your sons and servants are to farm the land for him to produce food for your master's household. But Mephibosheth, your master's grandson, will eat here at my table. Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Ziba replied, yes, my lord the king, I am your servant, and I will do all that you have commanded. And from that time on, Mephibosheth ate regularly at David's table like one of the king's own sons. Mephibosheth had a young son named Micah. From then on, all the members of Ziba's household were Mephibosheth's servants. And Mephibosheth, who was crippled in both feet, lived in Jerusalem and ate regularly at the king's table. 2 Samuel 10, 1 through 19. Sometime after this, King Nahash of the Ammonites died, and his son Hunan became king. David said, I am going to show loyalty to Hunan, just as his father Nahash was always loyal to me. So David sent ambassadors to express sympathy to Hanan about his father's death. But when David's ambassadors arrived in the land of Ammon, the Ammonite commanders said to Hanan, their master, "Do you really think these men are coming here to honor your father?" "No. David has sent them to spy out the city so they can come in and conquer it." So Hanan seized David's ambassadors and shaved off half of each man's beard, cut off their robes at the buttocks, and sent them back to David in shame. When David heard what had happened, he sent messengers to tell the men, "Stay at Jericho until your beards grow out and then come back," for they felt deep shame because of their appearance. When the people of Ammon realized how seriously they had angered David, they sent and hired 20,000 Aramaean foot soldiers from the lands of Beth Rahab and Zobah, 1,000 from the king of Maacah, and 12,000 from the land of Tob. When David heard about this, he sent Joab and all his warriors to fight them. The Ammonite troops came out and drew up their battle lines at the entrance of the city gate, while the Aramaeans from Zobah and Rahab and the men from Tob and Maacah positioned themselves to fight in the open fields. When Joab saw that he would have to fight on both the front and the rear, he chose some of Israelites' elite troops and placed them under his personal command to fight the Aramaeans in the fields. He left the rest of the army under the command of his brother Abishai, who was to attack the Ammonites. "If the Aramaeans are too strong for me, then come over and help me," Joab told his brother. "And if the Ammonites are too strong for you, I will come and help you. Be courageous. Let us fight bravely for our people and the cities of our God. May the Lord's will be done." When Joab and his troops attacked, the Aramaeans began to run away, and when the Ammonites saw the Aramaeans running, they ran from Abishai and retreated into the city. After the battle was over, Joab returned to Jerusalem. The Aramaeans now realized that they were no match for Israel, so when they regrouped, they were joined by additional Aramaean troops summoned by Hadadezer from the other side of the Euphrates River. These troops arrived at Helam under the command of Shobach, the commander of Hadadezer's forces. When David heard what was happening, he mobilized all Israel, crossed the Jordan River, and led the army to Helam. The Aramaeans positioned themselves in battle formation and fought against David. But again, the Aramaeans fled from the Israelites. This time, David's forces killed 700 charioteers and 40,000 foot soldiers, including Shobach, the commander of their army. When all the kings allied with Hadadezer saw that they had been defeated by Israel, they surrendered to Israel and became their subjects. After that, the Aramaeans were afraid to help the Ammonites. 1 Chronicles 19, 1 through 19. Sometime after this, King Nahash of the Ammonites died, and his son Hanan became king. David said, "I am going to show loyalty to Hanan because of his father Nahash, because his father Nahash was always loyal to me." So David sent messengers to express sympathy to Hanan about his father's death. But when David's ambassadors arrived in the land of Ammon, the Ammonite commanders said to Hanan, "Do you really think these men are coming here to honor your father?" "No. David has sent them to spy out the land so they can come in and conquer it." So Hanan seized David's ambassadors and shaved them, cut off their robes at the buttocks, and sent them back to David in shame. When David heard what had happened to the men, he sent messengers to tell them, "Stay at Jericho until your beards grow out and then come back," for they felt deep shame because of their appearance. When the people of Ammon realized how seriously they had angered David, Hanan and the Ammonites sent 75,000 pounds of silver to hire chariots and charioteers from Aram Naharaim, Aram Maacah, and Zobah. They also hired 32,000 chariots and secured the support of the king of Maacah and his army. These forces camped at Medeba, where they were joined by the Ammonite troops that Hanan had recruited from his own towns. When David heard about this, he sent Joab and all his warriors to fight them. The Ammonite troops came out and drew up their battle lines at the entrance of the city, while the other kings positioned themselves to fight in the open fields. When Joab saw that he would have to fight on both the front and the rear, he chose some of Israel's elite troops and placed them under his personal command to fight the Aramaeans in the fields. He left the rest of the army under the command of his brother Abishai, who was to attack the Ammonites. "If the Arameans are too strong for me, then come over and help me," Joab told his brother. "And if the Ammonites are too strong for you, I will help you. Be courageous. Let us fight bravely for our people and the cities of our God. May the Lord's will be done." When Joab and his troops attacked, the Arameans began to run away. And when the Ammonites saw the Arameans running, they also ran from Abishai and retreated into the city. Then Joab returned to Jerusalem. The Arameans now realized that they were no match for Israel, so they sent messengers and summoned additional Aramean troops from the other side of the Euphrates River. These troops were under the command of Shobach, the commander of Hadadezer's forces. When David heard what was happening, he mobilized all Israel, crossed the Jordan River, and positioned his troops in battle formation. Then David engaged the Arameans in battle, and they fought against him. But again the Arameans fled from the Israelites. This time David's forces killed 7,000 charioteers and 40,000 foot soldiers, including Shobach, the commander of their army. When Hadadezer's allies saw that they had been defeated by Israel, they surrendered to David and became his subjects. After that, the Arameans were no longer willing to help the Ammonites. And that concludes the April 25th Daily Bible Reading. Thanks for joining in.